All right, I am welcomed by my beautiful friend Steph. Steph, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, so I guess currently my name is Steph. I am an artist. I specialize in nude and kink-friendly artwork, and I also do a little bit of skimping on the side, so like lingerie bartending, and a little bit of OF as well. So my art, OF, and skimping all sort of tie in together, and it's really quite a
Amazing.
diverse format.
Ooh, liberating, definitely empowering. I've told so many people just about you and your story, and I thought it was so worthy getting you on the pod because I know a lot of women are in that position where they might not necessarily have a bad relationship or even just how they feel about themselves at the time. But I feel like your story just really shares the point that you don't have to settle for just feeling, you can fucking explode and 10x like that liberation of yourself. So I feel like that your story is perfect for that. I want to take the listeners back to when we first met, just kind of if you want to talk about like the place that you were in terms of how you felt about yourself. And obviously we can dive into the chat that we had and it just exploded from there. So yeah, how was that place for you?
So you know how there are parts in your life where you just like they're like glitches in your life's sort of path and you remember them so clearly?
Mm,
I truly like that day when I met you was one of those days where it was just like I remember those details so clear, like
yeah.
it's actually quite silly. But where I was at that point in time, I was really trying to like shrink myself into a mold that made others comfortable that I personally was really struggling with. I was in a monogamous relationship with someone who on paper was wonderful and for another partner is a great fit. But it was that thing where I was convincing myself like he's great on paper, he's everything and all that stuff. But I also wasn't happy. And I was like, the problem is me. Like, he's fine. I'm the issue. And it's not a thing of who's at fault. It's just also knowing when to actually acknowledge when something's not working.
Yeah.
And at that stage in my life, I was really quite guided by fear. And I was afraid to leave that situation I was in, that relationship. And I sort of had just almost accepted that that was going to be my life. Like, that was my lot in life. I think I was only 28 when I met you, and I'm 31 now.
Yeah.
It's been a while. And something about the late 20s, you think your life is about to fall off the edge at 30. It doesn't, obviously. If
Yes.
anything, you start to live when you're 30. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and it was just I just remember it because I felt I like going into what we spoke about, when I recall that moment of who I was then, I was very like small and hidden, and I was quite like very shy in myself, which is quite funny. I'm 6'1", so being small is
You stand
quite
out.
literally,
Yeah.
quite literally the opposite.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that moment when because you had recently just left a relationship as well, that you
Mhm.
said much was the same as mine in the way it was great on paper.
Yeah.
Everyone loved him, family loved him,
Yeah.
but it wasn't right for you and you left, and it was like you went from being all hunched over and sort of shrunken down, and suddenly it was like chest out, and you just when you arrived at the lunch that we were having, like you just radiated this really beautiful energy, and I was drawn to you immediately. And when you told me that story and you're like, my chest is out, and like you really embodied that. And it was that moment where I realized I was sitting there all hunched over and I was in
Oh,
that moment of like, oh, I'm literally shrinking myself. And it's funny, I recall that moment so often because I'm now truly like shoulders back,
yeah.
chest out. Like I'm really emboldened in myself. And like that was a moment when I spoke with you. It just actually, I think, was that cracking of the like lines that start to form before it all breaks and you start again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Whew, that made me teary. That's such a fucking powerful story, honestly. And
Oh,
like, for how long had you been feeling like that until it takes pretty much a stranger to shine awareness on it, right? Like, how long had you had those thoughts about where that relationship was going?
I think in all of my relationships, like I'm very fortunate that I attract these really lovely partners, but I wasn't honest with myself that I was not a monogamous person.
Yeah.
So sooner or later, those relationships would get to a point where that partner would be like, let's think marriage, let's think kids. And I'm sitting there like trapped, trapped, trapped.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I think that also just goes when you're not with the right person as well.
Yeah.
But the monogamy part really felt like a sort of chokehold on me. And so every relationship had those similar rhythms. And in that relationship in particular, it'd probably been like maybe a year of being in it. And I think I was with him for another 6 or so months after that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, but it's funny, there's this comedian, Daniel Sloss, and he does this great show on, like, this great stand-up on couples that stay together because it's just easy.
Yeah.
And he's like, once you sow the weed of doubt, like, it's a weed, it doesn't need water, it will grow. And I felt like your thing where you said to me, like, shoulders back, that played in my head over and over again. And I was like, oh, I just want to be like that. Like, I want to be confident and comfortable in myself.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, this is why I always encourage people to be so open and raw and authentic, because you never know what conversations you have with people will change their fucking life. Like, and it's not even about me or what I said to you, babe. Like, that capability was always inside of you. Sometimes it just takes like a bit of a jolt to the system to action that. So tell me, obviously you stayed for another 6 months. Timeline's not important. But what was that defining moment for you to actually break free of that and put yourself first and go, you know what, I'm not at my happiest? And what did that look like?
So it will get a bit dark.
That's okay.
My mum suddenly passed away.
Yeah. Sorry.
And so I was in mining at the time. Yeah. And so I was in mining, I was in my dozer up on the tip bed, and I found out that my mother had died suddenly. It was very unexpected, and it was an incredibly awful experience. There's something incredibly debilitating about that type of shock and grief. I couldn't move. I couldn't stop screaming either, it's a very out-of-body experience. And my ex-partner at the time, who worked on the same side as me, I will always be grateful for him, because he was the one that pulled me out of that machine, who organised everything, who kept my head turned on. Like, he kept me going through that period of time. So my gratitude to him will always be there. But it was when it came time after the funeral, after the few weeks I'd spent back in South Australia with my family, that I had to come back to Perth. And it was during that period of time, I had 10 days where I didn't see my partner. And I realised that was the longest we'd gone without seeing each other. And it was the most alive I'd felt, and the most myself I had allowed myself to be. And I sat down with my dad and had this big conversation about how I'm poly, pansexual, and he knew all this stuff, but really talking it out with him. And I think just having lost mum, we were just so devastated, and we just knew that life obviously is too short. And my dad loved my ex. Like, my family adored him. He was a wonderful person. But at the end of the day, they love me, and they want me to be happy. And my dad was just like, if anyone can do it, you can. You have your own financial backing of your own house. Like, you will be okay. And that was also when I told him I wanted to leave mining as well. So after a big grief like that, everyone tells you, don't make any massive decisions, don't change things, because you're in a vulnerable space right now.
Yeah.
And my mum's best friend actually told me those exact words. And I ended up leaving my long-term partner of 4 years and my job that I'd been in for 5 years. And it was the best thing I ever did. Like, it was a huge change. But it was, it just meant that I could actually start living. Like, it was this really, it took my mum dying for me to start living. And I hate that. She never got to see this side of me. But it was just like, losing her just made me realise that I was living this life that looked good from the outset, but deep down I was so miserable, and I wasn't living. And now I am. And it's just,
Yeah. And if it's any comfort to you, like, I'm not sure what you believe in, babe, but I know she's seeing you now, and she's so fucking proud of the person that you are. And unfortunately, your story is it took grief to, it's almost like the grief was motivation to go, you're right, life is too fucking short, like, let's do something with it. And she 100% can see that. So that's so beautiful and so powerful. Heavy, but that's just your journey, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things, because whenever I tell people I used to be in mining and now I'm an artist and I do all this stuff, I think people expect it to just be like this fun, bubbly journey. And I always have to let them know, like, I'm going to go dark. Like, I do
Yeah.
apologize, but like, this is why. And,
Yeah.
you watch their face go from like, oh, and you're just
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
No,
like,
I encourage it, honestly, because I believe that, again, what I said previously about just being like open and authentic and raw, some of the best experiences and the biggest pivotal moments in people's lives are from dark shit. Like, you either let it consume you
oh
and you
yeah.
go backwards, or it's like a turning point for some people. So, yeah.
Well, that was it. Like, I relied heavily on my mum for emotional support, for friendship. Like, she was everything to me. And we were so close, and I was so fortunate to have that relationship. Like, I'd be on the phone with her 3 times a week.
Oh,
But I also realized how much I relied on her to get through my life. So, like, I would be loading trucks in a loader and I would still be on the phone with her, like pretty much crying about how unhappy I was in mining. And there was this moment where I was like, I can't go back to that life without her. I cannot go
yeah.
back to my job, my relationship without her. Like, I could only survive those things because I always had her.
Interesting.
So,
Wow, that's really interesting. That's cool.
yeah.
It's almost
So,
like you, because you weren't like the best version of yourself or being true to yourself, it's like you almost need to be handheld during that period of your life because you don't feel aligned with yourself almost. It's like you're kind of pretending to
yeah.
be someone and floating through this earth like, oh, I think this is what I'm meant to be doing. Mom, is this right? Like, and
Yeah.
obviously,
Very much.
not to take away from the grief or anything, but that part of that liberating feeling is you're more confident showing up every day in this life and this version of yourself because you
Mm,
feel more aligned with this is who you're meant to be and this is what you're meant to be doing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's it. And like, it was always there, but it was just, it is a jolt that just pushes you into this sort of living that you don't really have a choice. Like, I had to start actually living, and that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, babe. So you made this huge change when you quote unquote weren't supposed to. So you're now in this space of like, okay, I get to like rewrite my story and start again. So how did you start the OnlyFans? How did you go into skimpy art? Like, tell me all about that beautiful kind of creative side of you.
Well, it took a while. I
Hmm.
gave myself 3 months originally. Like, I left, or more than 3 months, like till August. So I left mining in April, and I was
Hmm.
like, by August, if I'm not selling anything, we'll can it, and I'll
Hmm.
go back to mining.
Hmm.
Um, And I started off painting everything. So I was painting landscapes, animals, like all these things under the sun to figure out what I liked or what I was good at. Because I'd sort of put painting to the side for the last half decade, even decade. And I was doing all these pieces. People were buying them. People were actually commissioning me to do them, which was so exciting. I think when you look back to those moments when you have your first sale for like next to nothing, I think my first piece was $150 for a
Yeah.
commission that I would now sell for like $900. Um,
So good.
yeah,
You gotta
like
start somewhere.
I was so exactly, I was so excited and like, but then I found myself getting drained again. Like I was back in mining and I was like, I'm finally doing what I always wanted to do. Like, why is this not enough still? And then I was painting a pet portrait for my brother as a surprise, and it was driving me up the wall. And I started, for some reason, I just started painting a nude on the side. So
Yeah.
it's like a palette cleanser. So when the dog painting was driving me far enough up the wall, I would jump over and start painting the nude again.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, instead of that energy just going into it and not coming back, it was finally like I'd found a way of that energy was just really cyclical and it was really lovely. And that was actually like when the drip effect started in my thing was on
Yeah.
my first nude because it just looked empty and I needed something. And I always love that effect of like, honey or a liquid that's quite, gloopy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it worked. And
Yeah.
slowly but surely I started just painting more and more nudes in the background whilst I would do these commissions, like these, jetty landscapes and stuff. And then I remember when I did my first market, which is in Subiaco, and the first print that I sold was of a nude. And like,
Yes. So
again,
many dirty minxes
it
out
was
there. We
such,
need butt cheeks on our walls. love
Well, this is,
that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. And I learned very quickly who my customer base is. Like,
Yeah.
it's mostly women. There are a lot of men who buy my work, especially in
Yeah.
skimpy bars.
Yeah.
But like, oh, that poor girl, I nearly cried when she bought my first print. Like, I was just
Aw,
so excited.
that's special.
Because it's just, yeah, it was. It was really special. And it's these little moments that tell you you are doing the right thing. This is what you're meant to be doing. And
Hmm.
even if I was making no money, it was the happiest I'd been at that stage.
Yeah.
I'd never experienced joy like that in my own skill set. And
Aw.
but yeah, anyway, it carried forward. And then I hit like January and at this point, like, yeah, I was doing commissions and I was selling pieces and selling prints, but I was not really making enough money to
Mhm.
survive. Like, I was essentially just draining my savings to pay
Yeah.
the mortgage and all that stuff because, you know, I've
Yeah.
still got a house I got to pay for. And so come January, it was put on my radar about skimpying and I'd never heard of it because it doesn't exist in South Australia. And I don't drink, so I'm not in pubs, so I don't come across skimpies. And so yeah, January, I like very timidly started skimpying. And I remember my first shift, I was like, I can't believe I've gotten to this point. Like the shame I felt about that. I was like, should I
Wow.
just go back to mining? Yeah, no, I was still like adjusting to doing this stuff openly. And I'd been like, my first shift, I walked in, I was so nervous, and I made like $300 in tips. And I was just like, oh my God. And that was from a 2 hour shift. And
Wow.
yeah, it was something that I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Like, it was just this click moment. And one of
Yeah.
the customers I met at that pub is now one of my regulars, like, who I see at a lot of other bars.
Just follows
And
you
he's
around.
wonderful.
The,
And
the tour, the Steph tour. I love that. I love it.
I more follow him because he goes to the bars that I love working at. But yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's so wonderful. Like, he's so wonderful. I've given him free art and everything like that. He's just a
Aw.
really sweet guy. And you do, like, I think when you're not in the space, like with OnlyFans or skimping, I
Hmm.
think we as a society tend to demonize like strip clubs, skimpy bars,
Yeah.
anything with the sex work industry. Like there is like an instant shame that has been drilled into us from like, you know, watching Pretty Woman as a kid and everything.
Yeah.
And realistically, it's just men and women who work in these fields who are either working as a teacher during the day and they're doing this at night to just give themselves some extra income, or they're doing this full time, or they're, you know, doing OnlyFans, they're modeling.
Yeah.
Like it's not a sad story. I think
No.
when people come into the skimpy space and look at a skimpy and go, I'm going to rescue you, that's really, it's really degrading. And it's
I
also
don't
like,
need to
babe,
see you,
what are you
babe.
going to
I'm
rescue me
good.
with?
Yeah.
I know, I'm just like, what are you going to rescue me with? I probably make more money than you.
Yeah, literally.
No.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Fuck.
It's just misinterpretation. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people don't understand the actual freedom it provides. Like you choose your
Yeah.
own shifts, you make your own tips. If you're friendly, if you're fun, if you're quick on the like pouring beers, then you'll make
Mhm.
good money. You've obviously got to be pretty smart, like business minded, to make sure that money doesn't just disappear as soon as you make it.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think like a lot of people, same with mining, don't have financial literacy, and they
Hmm.
come into these spaces where you're getting lots of money
Hmm.
for like, you know, pretty big hours. But if you're not saving or investing it, it will disappear as soon as it comes into your wallet. And
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. So skimping and the art, and then I was also doing a bit of OnlyFans in the background, and it
Yeah.
all happened at the same time
Hmm.
that my art started to take off.
Yeah.
So that was when Sexpo came on the radar. Like this is all in New Year's, like of 2024.
Yep.
So last year.
Yep.
And so I had Sexpo coming up. I had all these prints that my printmaker had done of all my artworks. I was painting like crazy of all these nudes. Like I had actually started to say no more pet portraits, no more landscapes. Like I was drawing the line of I'm not doing that. I'm not an artist who does that. There are plenty of landscape artists who love this.
Hmm.
I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then in April I had Perth Expo. So
Yeah.
that was a wild experience. It was really wonderful. I had a lot of skimpy customers come to that to come
Aw,
support,
like that's
which
my
was really
girl.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. You did like a full. You were on the main stage and everything. Like you painted live, and oh, yeah, that was
Yeah,
really cool to
that's
watch.
right.
Yeah.
It was so scary. I was terrified because these are
Yeah.
moments when you're like, quick, give me a shot. Like, let me numb this anxiety
Yeah.
I'm feeling. And I'm going up there just raw dogging it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I just have to suck it up essentially. And,
Yeah.
like, it was just, it was the best thing ever being up on stage, being able to show people what I do for a living, like that I
Yeah.
can actually paint.
Yeah.
And doing that over a 3-day process, and it was just really fun. And like, you get to test what banter works with the audience and trying to maintain a crowd, because like
Yeah.
the stage, like the sound guys would say to me, like, it's like you're wheeling out a piano after a rock concert. Like you would have these
Yeah.
incredible gymnasts, pole dancers, like these like nude like dancers and stuff that were just going off with the most incredible theatrics.
Yeah.
And then I'd always be the last show. I'd come out with my canvas and just be like, woo!
Oh, like, hey guys, just sit down
Yeah.
and watch. Yeah. Well, the stage presence,
And
like
yeah,
to be able to capture an audience and you're painting live, like that says a lot about your confidence and your energy when you're on stage. Like
yeah,
that's huge. That's friggin' huge.
yeah. It was amazing. Like it was really cool being able to show myself that I could do that.
Yeah.
It was also a really great thing moving forward because it started to actually add credibility to my art. Like
Hmm.
people hear an artist and they're just like, okay, like you
Yeah.
scribble in the back room, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm actually an artist. People pay me for my work.
Yeah. Yeah.
and and saying that I toured with Sexpo because then I went to Sydney as well, and we were due to do other shows, but unfortunately
Yeah.
the company, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it was just this.
Yep. Mhm.
Oh my God.
Jesus, that was fucked. How did
I know.
how did the opportunity for Sexpo come up for you? Did you have to apply, or how did that come up?
Yeah, so you have to apply. It was coming up on my algorithm and everything, and then an old friend mentioned it, and I was like, oh, I don't really know. And I was doing markets at the time, and as my work got progressively more nude friendly, it meant
Yeah.
that going to these family friendly markets wasn't really my
Yeah,
demographic.
fair.
And
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and then yeah, I applied. They called me back like an hour later and was like,
Perfect.
we would love to have you. Like this is when Belinda was running it, and she is like an ex sort of all-rounder porn star. Like she's incredible and she's
Oh,
really
she would have
fun.
really appreciated your
And
work.
so she was like, we can do a yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and she was great. Like and she was the one that was like, we can do a stage show, and I was just like, oh no, like I don't know how to do that. And we just wung it. Like I got a friend to mix some songs together, like some old school R&B like songs together, and it was just the team of Sexpo came together and really huddled around me to support me up there. Like the sound tech guys ended up doing a collage, so behind me there'd be my
Oh,
paintings going and like my logo, and it was just,
that's amazing.
it was really cool. Yeah, it was really exceptional, and like it was a moment where I was like, every now and then I have moments where I'm like, would my mum be okay with this? Would my mum be proud of this?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful that I had an incredible mum who was just
Yeah.
super open-minded, and she would have lost her shit at the expo. Like she would have been like, yeah, she would have been front stage, like
Yeah. Oh, I
screaming
love
for me.
that. I
So
hope that drives you. I
yeah,
really do. I hope that's like
it's,
she's coming through in your paintings, like she's supporting you in everything you do. Like I just know she is. And I know like you were talking about the version of yourself when you were in this long-term relationship as being like quite closed off, quiet, timid, like just how did once you felt liberated and open and you felt this need for the change, how did the decision for OnlyFans and skin peeing come about? Because obviously they're two very different versions of Steph. So how did you gain that confidence or even the ideas to step into that?
I think part of it was also a rebellion to my
Mm,
ex relationship. He was very anti all those things. I wasn't doing it in total rebellion of that, but like it was something I was always curious about.
yeah.
And the actual confirmation that led to OnlyFans was I'd left mining,
Hmm.
and a lot of the guys I used to work with, like I was one of the few women that operated like on my site. We had a lot of truckies and stuff, but I was one of the few that actually operated like dozers and stuff.
Yeah.
And look what I look like. But so you would have a lot of sort of male attention in these spaces, and is what it is. But so after leaving mining, I'd get them reaching out, and I had one guy actually who was harassing me,
Oh.
and he ended up being like, "Do you want to make some money?" And I was a bit like, like, I've ignored you. You've been talking to yourself in my DMs for how long now?
Yeah.
And he was just like, "I'll pay you $400 to send me some videos."
What?
And I just kind of was like, I've been single now for like 5 months.
Yeah.
I've been just doing my own thing. Like, I could really use a bit of extra cash. Why not?
Yeah.
And so I literally sent him like, I think 4 photos and maybe a 15-second video.
Yeah.
That was like pixelated and terrible.
Yeah.
And this guy was so happy. He was thrilled.
Yeah.
And he still buys content from time to time, but not as regularly. But that was a moment where I was like, I'm sending this stuff out for free to guys that I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I do it for free?
Yeah.
And
100%.
so I got and so like in October, at the end of October, I ended up getting OnlyFans. I spoke about it with friends, family.
Yeah.
And yeah, those first few months were insane. Like I was averaging about 1,500 USD a week. And yeah, it was going well. I think it was the novelty. Like it was the novelty of, there's this girl we used to mine with who's now doing OnlyFans.
Yeah, it's always curious to have a look, right? Yeah.
Very much. And I was like, it was all these things. And then in December, because it was taking off so well, I ended up like meeting up with all my family for Christmas. And I told them all, I was just like, hey guys, I just want to give you the heads up. So like my dad, my brothers and everything and their wives. And like, it's not a big deal. Like, again, I'm a woman in my 30s. Like, I don't need permission.
Yeah.
But two, it was more so we are a family based on communication and transparency where appropriate. And my biggest fear was that someone would take the information and try and weaponize it against like my dad or,
Yeah. You want them to hear it from you firsthand rather than, 100%.
Exactly. And that's it. And my dad, absolute legend. He's just like, yeah, make that money.
Get that money, baby.
And I was like, I was very surprised. Yeah.
I love that.
Dad's a legend. Yeah, no, he's an incredible support. Like everything I do, I throw some curveballs at him and he just is like, as long as you're safe, as long as you're happy, you're a grown woman, I trust you. Like, I love you, I trust you.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
And that's so true from a parent as well, like safety and happiness. And they, like you said, I think what you said previously was such a powerful message where a lot of people don't leave relationships because they're like, oh, my family's really close to my partner. But it's like, they love your partner, but they love you more. And they will always back whatever you decide to do that makes you happy, as long as you're safe. So did you kind of expect that reaction, or you just weren't really sure based on what you said about people judging the industry and stuff as well?
So my family sort of is in weird levels of like, so my middle brother is exceptionally like open-minded, progressive. His wife is like my best friend. Like we are so close.
Yeah.
That sometimes he complains that I talk to her more than him.
Yeah.
But, so they were the first to know about it because I pretty much just threw it into the oxygen and they were just like, awesome. We don't care. We love you. I was very nervous about telling my dad because I was like, I don't want him to be disappointed. And that is something that is like, and I do this with my dad and my oldest brother. I feel like I hold things to protect them, but they don't need my protecting. They are more than capable of taking it on. And they prove that to me every time I tell them something new. They just go, cool, ask a few questions if they need to, and we all move on. And it's just easy.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just also, I have to always acknowledge how fortunate I am to have the family I have. Like, that is my mum entirely in the way that she taught us as children to be and the way she allowed dad to grow into, especially since we've lost her. Like, the way we've all fought to keep each other safe and secure and to really hold up that relationship that we have with mum as a family unit. Like, I think grief and death can separate a family or it can bring us together, and mum was our glue. And that was a real moment where we all had to decide we have to reform that glue now. And so, it's just, I'm incredibly fortunate. I know not everyone gets that fortune to have such an accepting family, like people who work in sex work or in the queer community or poly relationships. Like, I'm very
Yeah.
aware that I am not the rule, I'm the exception. Like, I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. And that's huge of your dad as well, right? Especially from the older generations, like coming into all this new awareness and being open and things like that. But
Yeah.
what was I going to say? It left my brain. My ADHD, I can't fucking remember what I was saying. I think I also just want to comment on like everything that you've chosen to do in the journey to be your true self and feel liberated in a way. They're almost individually activities like the OnlyFans or the Skimpy work and things like that individually are all empowering, like sexually liberating and be feeling aligned, but you've chosen to do multiple. And not only that, you've now got the support of your family. So you're fucking on fire. You're just like, yes, 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 let's fucking go, like unstoppable. And it's fucking awesome to watch. Like, obviously, at the end of this chat, I'm going to link all of your stuff because I promise anyone that's listening to this needs to go follow Steph because you're going to watch it and just be like, holy fuck, like, what am I doing with my life? So empowering for women, honestly. So empowering. I
Oh,
love it. I just wanted you to know that.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
of course, of course. Especially going back to that first chat we had, it's just been such a beautiful thing for me to
Oh,
watch you spread your wings. Like, and it wasn't me, babe. Like, it was, yeah, like you said, you've had it in you the whole time. And going back to your chat with, it's come to my brain now, going back to your chat about your dad, you said you were, I know it's so fucked how it works. You were said like, oh,
I'm following.
yeah, I'm worried to tell him because I'm worried he might be disappointed. That's like the societal norms coming into us, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
about to tell him this, the automatic assumption is they'll be disappointed because I'm not following like society's rules of what I should be doing.
Yeah,
So thank fuck he's on your
very
side.
much.
That's good. I love that.
And that's it. Like, my dad and I, we are very similar. We share a lot of core values. Like, we're both sober. Like, we're both, very fitness orientated. We pretty much, I'm just the female version of him, as much
Yeah.
as he'll cringe at that. But like, he was always like, there was always this person in him. Like, we grew up getting manicures and pedicures together. Like, mum was always a bit more farm girl, whereas dad loved the small, like the finer things in life because he would
Yeah.
work really hard and then come home on his weekends. And
Love
like, that would be face masks and manicures and pedicures. So like, I grew up with a pretty, like, he's conservative in his ways, but like in his behavior and his attitudes, he's always been incredibly progressive. He's always been very accepting towards me. And anytime I've ever forgotten that, he's so quick to remind me of it. Like, he even has told me, he's like, oh, I have people in like a small town come up to me like, can you believe your daughter's doing this? And
Wow.
he's just like, yeah, I know, family or like extended family or friends, which is pretty common in this sort of space when people are open about it. There's always someone who's not going to agree with it. And dad's the first one to just be like, what does it matter to you? Like,
Yeah. Here's
she's
our link.
a
Pay us
grown
something.
adult.
He's like, yeah, here's the link. Please pay her if you're going to talk shit about her. At least pay her for it.
I know. But
Oh
it's
my
just
god.
like, honestly, at the end of the day, like, I, like, going right back to the beginning when I first met you, like, that was really showing me that I could be like that. I hadn't actually had any female representation of seeing someone, like, just being like that. And there was just this energy to you. And I think about you so often, especially in this period of my life where I feel like I'm really embodying that. And it's just, I feel so grateful for that moment. I feel so grateful to who I was then because without that, I wouldn't be who I am now. So I could never regret any of it. Like, I had to go through what I went through to get here. And it's just, it's the best. And like, that's all my parents want for me. It's all my family want for me, my friends. And the irony being that the more in myself I am with art, with skimping, with OnlyFans, with just general life, the more people that align with me I attract that are, it's just that way it is, right? Like, when you're unhappy in yourself, you attract people who are also unhappy in themselves, and it becomes like a cycle.
Yeah.
Whereas where I am now, like, I've attracted like the most beautiful partner who is so gorgeous and accepting. I have these incredible friends that have been a part of my life for some up to 20 years and some only 3 years, but like
Yeah.
they have rallied around me. And the people who aren't meant for me have left, and it's been better for it, you know, like it cleanses out that horrible energy and you just get to keep thriving.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
Oh, that's big. That's actually, it's a good point that I've spoken about so many times. It's like as you continue to grow and you value different things and a different version of yourself will come. I think it's okay to shed people in your life because it's not like a reflection of you or even a reflection of them. They obviously served a part of your life for a reason and they served a part of who you were at that time for a reason. And it's okay to let things go. And I think if a lot of people don't have self-worth or confidence, they might go and judge themselves. Like, why am I losing friends? Or why do people not agree with what I'm doing? But just accepting that it's a natural process of life. It's okay to shed people. Because you're right, when you grow, you'll attract new people, which is a perfect fucking segue because I want to talk about your partner.
Oh, yay.
Yes. I promise I wasn't going to let that one go. That's like the biggest part of this conversation. So you've touched on obviously going from monogamy to polyamory. Yeah.
That's
tell
right,
me,
yes.
tell me the whole story about where you guys met, how you met, and just how you came into this new form of relationships. Go for it. Let's go.
I could talk about him forever. So I actually, after I just met you, was also I met a mutual friend of ours, Dee, who was in the scene at the time. So when I say scene, I mean like the sex positive, open, poly scene, just so anyone who's not familiar with that term. And that got me linked in with a sort of adult company who throw parties, and they were sort of, you know, they were really supportive of my stuff. They were sharing a lot of my stuff, so I'll always be grateful for that. And then
Hedonism?
that was hedonism, yeah.
Hedonism, yeah, perfect.
Hedonism, yeah.
Yeah.
I know everyone pronounces it differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, for when I came into that space, they were incredible to me and really heightened me up and welcomed me into the scene and into that community of people with open arms, and it was really special. And that first party I went to, it was really cute because like you'd formed these parasocial relationships with people you'd never met in person, but they knew you from Instagram. And so I didn't feel as alone going into that party by myself. And a lot of people come to these parties and like have a few drinks and maybe something extra. And I was just
going
so in, like this scared little. And that's not common. Like some people would pretty restrained with their drinking, but it's not often that you come across that.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that first party was wild in the way that I was just like I was like a scared little deer in the headlights. Like first time I'd ever seen other people have sex in like an open space because they have like a play section. Everyone was there. Like, as in, it was at a penthouse. There was maybe about 100 or so people in this penthouse.
Yeah.
Everyone's, like, in lingerie, in Christmas-themed lingerie.
Yeah.
And it was just this wild experience. And actually, that was where I met my partner. So he was this big, tall, beautiful, goofy-looking American. And I thought he was so pretty, but I was also very nervous and not as confident. I hadn't started skimping at this point. I just started OnlyFans, so I was still pretty shy, which is weird to think I was ever shy. But
and this was your first party, right? So you're not even interested in meeting people. It's like, fuck, you're trying to take in the party. So it's almost like you're not trying to pick up anyone. You're like, I'm just trying to get through this party.
Exactly. And you know what? Like, I think he always reflects on that and he's like, you did not look interested in me at all. I'm like, it's because I was overwhelmed.
Yeah. I was dissociating, bro. I was not there. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I'm like, you came in with a game plan. I went in to survive. I was just like, fingers crossed I get out of this. Like, I'm able to get through this.
Yeah.
And, and so he was really lovely, really friendly. Everyone was really lovely at that party. And we ended up, like, I guess playing together at the end of the night, like to the point where they, like, ended up sort of turning the music off and was like, come on.
Let's go.
And it was just this thing where I kind of was like, I would like to get your name first and also your Instagram.
Yeah.
And he was the same. He was like, yes, please. But it was just like, we reflect on it now, knowing how stupidly in love we are with each other. But that first kiss was something else. Like, it was this moment where I was like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
I was kissing a lot of people that night, and it was like girls, guys, and everyone was sort of like, it was nice, but you know, like, it was a mismatch of like kissing technique.
Yeah. You feel the
And
energy
I
though as
kissed
well,
him.
right? Like, it's just
Yeah,
electric. Yeah.
yeah,
I get it.
it is. And that was it. And like, I kissed him, and it was like, it was shocking at first because he'd been drinking Jack Daniels all night. And that was the first time I'd tasted like the taste of alcohol in like 4 months.
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah. Oh my
that was
God.
a bit weird. But no, and he just like the softest lips. Like, I was just like, this is the best kiss I've had in so long. And everything else about him was incredible. And yeah, so we met at that party. That was in December. We occasionally run into each other at other parties, like New Year's party. And we didn't really, like, we'd message every now and then. It was very light. And like, we sort of had more of a dom sub sort of dynamic. So we would catch up to do like a scene. So like, it'd be like, you know, at a hotel or something.
Can I ask, sorry to interrupt you, because this is
No, you're
obviously
right.
all, if you don't mind me asking, all of that kind of scenes and play was new to you, or had you done that with previous partners?
Oh, it was new. It was
Okay.
all new. I
Yeah.
was just like,
So was it any of it your
So,
idea to try, or he was very open to like, what do you want to try? And you were like, everything. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
um, well, yeah, no. So I was very, very open to wanting to try all these things.
Yeah.
Like, I'd always wanted to do this sort of stuff. Like, I'd always sort of fell into that submissive role in a sort of sexual lens. Ironically, now as I carry forward in skimping, I'm much more dominant in
Yeah.
my job. So
Yeah.
I go into a
Is that
dominant role with my
when you
customers.
bend the men over at the bar and give them a spank while they're trying to drink? Absolutely, I can see the dom inside you. You're very naturally in that role.
I do it well.
Yeah, you do.
No, it's funny because whenever I try and like go into dom mode with my partner, he's just like, "It's so cute, but you're not a dom," and I'm like,
I
"I'm not a
love
dom
that.
with you.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm a dom with others, but not
Yeah,
with you." And
yeah,
but no, so that's how it was. It was just super light at first. I started dating someone for a couple of months, and we took, you know, we didn't see each other as much. Like, I had some other playmates at the same time. And then when that relationship ended was actually sort of right as the time that me and my partner actually sort of started to connect a bit more and actually date instead
yeah,
of just
right.
random every now and then. And I don't know what it was. It was like it was like something in, you know, not to get a bit woo-woo, but like, it was like something universal was just stopping us from getting together when we weren't ready. And we weren't ready at that point, like, until we actually came together, which wasn't until like June when we started actually sort of seeing each other more seriously. Neither of us was in the headspace to have
Yeah,
given each other what we need. And we both really reflect on that time as like with gratitude that we didn't get together then, that we
yeah,
didn't try and give this a proper go. So when we did come together, it was like, oh, we want to be here. This isn't coincidence. This is actually a really intention-based relationship. And yeah, it was just the easiest thing. It's been the easiest relationship. Like, there is this very swift irony, and I've gone through some incredibly hard things of late. Since losing my mum, these last few months have probably been the hardest I've had since losing her. And yet, because I've had him, they're also some of the happiest I've had. And that's a really strange dichotomy when
he's
you're
a rock.
the
He's
happiest
a
you've
rock.
ever been. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And yeah, he's just phenomenal. He's beautiful. The way he loves animals, like we'll go to the dog oval and all the dogs will just swarm to him.
Oh, that's a
So
good man when the animals swarm. You know
he's
you've
a
got
very
to
good
go.
man.
The animals decide.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
like, and that's it. And he's like fully adopted my animals as his own. Like, he talks about them like as if he's been there the whole time. And
as he should.
the way he is with yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, quite often in relationships, even friendships, I felt myself needing to split between who I am when I'm with them versus myself with my animals, my home.
Yeah.
It's always had to separate itself. Whereas with him, he's just like, if I get you, I get the animals. Like, it's a
Yeah.
package deal. And
Yeah.
he's like, so, yeah. Like, I just, you know, it's like a single fur baby mum. And,
Absolutely. That's just
yeah,
part
he
of
just
who
has,
you are, though. Like, you either
yeah,
love all of me, you can't decide to love
exactly.
parts of me. It's all of me. I appreciate that.
exactly. Yeah, and like the way he is with my cat, he's ridiculous. But yeah, he's just a really beautiful human. He's very smart, which I love. He's very funny. Even though he's American, I thought he was going to be a bit of a
Yeah.
conflict of interest there, but
Damn Americans. Yeah,
he's
fair enough,
oh,
babe.
I know. But no, there's a reason he lives in Australia. Like, because he's very much like he's just very funny, and it's when you have those shared core values. Like I've seen this with your partner and you. Like it
Yeah.
may have seemed quick, but I think it was because you
Yeah.
two aligned. So that's
Yeah.
why everything just worked.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, my partner and I, like, we would joke, like, oh, we've only been dating for a week when we were like 3-4 months into it because so much was happening with us. Like, we fell in love very quickly, but like not in a love bombing way. We checked in multiple times.
Yeah. Just feels natural. Like it progresses quickly, but in a natural way. Like, and it's as it should. Like, it
Yeah.
just feels right. I totally understand when you talk about like the universe and everything, because my partner and I were exactly the same. So I totally get it. I totally
Yeah.
get it. That's
Yeah. And that's it. It was just like, I've never felt more grateful. I'm so excited for what our future has together. Like, we just want so much together. And like, he's a scuba diver instructor, so he's got like a hot boy job, which we love. And yeah, he's just,
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that before. A hot boy job.
well, it's helpful. I mean, they're either that or they work in mining in
I love
WA.
it. Do you think he says that about you? He's like, my girlfriend's got a hot girl job, multiple hot girl jobs.
He does. He does. He does. He's just like, she's an artist. Like, the
Yeah.
way he talks about me is embarrassing. Like, it's so
Oh,
beautiful. Like, the
screaming
way,
her
yeah,
name from
it's kind of
the rooftops, I bet.
very much like
Mm.
I've had such incredible supports throughout my life in previous partners, friendships, family. But the way this man like shouts my name from the rooftops, the way he hypes me up, the way he wants me to succeed, like
Absolutely.
there's no threat. Like he doesn't feel threatened by it. He doesn't feel like it's going to impact him. He only wants better for me, and I only want better for him because what we grow together is for us.
Yeah.
And it's so special. And like, because I get a lot of people go, oh, what's your partner think of skimping? And I'm like, he loves it. Like,
Yeah.
he does, like, he does something similar as well. So he's pretty open. Like, he's
Yeah.
not got an issue with it at all.
It's a mature man
And,
as well, right? I think for,
oh, God, yeah.
for a partner to be able to see how it empowers you and like mature enough to know that you're just in it for the money, like, you know what I mean? But are you guys
Oh,
monogamous
exactly.
or are you guys open? What's your relationship dynamic?
Oh, yeah. So I know when you talk about a partner as a poly person, everyone's like, wait.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's what I mean. Share it all, babe. Let's go.
No, so we're both polyamorous. We both share the same polyamorous views, i.e., like some people will say like a single penis policy, which I think is really gross in the way of like it doesn't seem to validate female on female or women-based relationships as being real relationships.
Yeah.
So I really disagree with that mentality. Some people have it. Some partners have veto power where they can tell their partner who they can and can't hang out with. I don't like that.
Right.
There's lots of, in the same way monogamy can be done in ways that aren't so great, polyamory can also be done in ways that aren't so great. And fortunately for myself and my partner, like we just really sit on the same page with what we want from each other, what we're okay with each other having. Like we're very open to date others, like other people, and like it's just like I've met some of his playmates, I've played with them, like I think they're wonderful. Like honestly, we're very fortunate that we have quite a high standard of type of people we want to be around that make us feel better about ourselves.
That's good.
But also don't drain us. And so it's just a really freeing sort of life, like being so happy and in love, but also like being so there for each other when we meet other people.
The important part, like you said, is if like when you feel like it's a genuine person and a genuine connection that's not going to take advantage of the situation. But I guess I don't really understand polyamory, but by the way that you've explained it, each relationship or each person has their own understanding of what polyamory means to them. And as long as you're able to communicate like your boundaries and what you want to explore, like as long as it's safe and everyone's happy. Okay.
Well, and communication is the biggest part. I think the easiest way to make it make sense sometimes, just for the audience and whatnot, is unless you like think of your friendship group and you don't like, ideally you've got a few friends, like, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like in poly, it's like you have your friend, you love them, they love you, you feel safe with them, it's wonderful. But you also have other friends that also make you feel safe and wonderful, and it doesn't detract from the love you have with that other friend.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of monogamous ideology when looking at poly, like it's not for everyone, so I'm never going to force it on someone.
Yeah.
But it's this theory that my love must get drained or taken away from my partner if I meet someone else. And that's not it. It's like saying to a mother like her or a father that if you have another child, you won't love your other one as much.
That's
Like,
a good way of looking at it,
it's just,
actually. Yeah.
yeah, it's just this constant, because I have a lot of people say to me, oh, that must mean you're not in love or you don't love him as much. And I'm just like, well, do you not love your kids all the same?
Yeah.
Like, I know they all have different merits, and they're like, it's not the same, it's not sexual. And I'm like, yeah, but it shows you that humans are capable of loving more than one person at a time.
100%. I've heard
And
someone explain it before that you can't expect one person to give you everything you need either, like emotionally, physically, sexually, like everything.
yeah,
So, yeah, if you were into polyamory, I guess a lot of that is around just multiple connections as well, and everyone filling up
yeah,
your cup. You can't expect one person
yeah.
to do that, right?
Well, and yeah, because Esther Perel actually was the one that sort of
I have her
said
book.
that, and yes, that's probably why you know it.
Yeah.
And she made that comment because back in the day it used to be a village that you would have, and your partner would pretty much just be the person for sexual and like intimate gratification, whereas now we need them to be everything.
Yeah.
And I don't require my partner to be everything to me. He just conveniently kind of is, but like it's this thing of, it's just. Whenever I was in monogamous scenarios for myself personally, I would become that person's entire world.
Yeah.
And that makes me incredibly uncomfortable because I need you to have things in your life that aren't just about me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need you to have your own friends. I need you to have your own life. I need you to have your own fitness sort of priorities and your own mental health priorities. I can't be the thing that keeps you going.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it can be quite consistent, well, at least in my experience of monogamy, where a codependency can arise. And that makes me really uncomfortable because, and I've had it with friendships too, where it's like, I'm your entire being, or like everything that you experience is due to whether or not I'm there to permit it. And I don't love that. I've always been someone that's like, please make your own friends, please go out and have your own life.
Yeah.
And then we can enjoy it together, but I have my own things too.
Yeah.
And so polyamory, I think, just really enables me to have that, like, where I have my life, my partners have their lives, and it doesn't take away from how we feel about one another or how much we love each other. It just adds to it.
Yeah. No, that's really a beautiful way to explain it. So have you kind of had these thoughts and ideologies when you've been in monogamous relationships, but you didn't know that it was polyamory that you wanted to explore, or you've always kind of felt like you wanted polyamory?
It's really timely that you asked that question because my first ever serious partner is based in Sydney, and he'd come over to Perth for a quick work trip like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we haven't actually seen each other since we separated. And I was 23 when we separated, and now I'm 31.
Yeah.
And it was just, one, it was a real testament to how we ended our relationship with care and compassion. Mm-hmm. And he even made the comment when because he's now married and he's having all the things he wanted that I couldn't give him. And when I found out he'd gotten married and had babies, I was so happy. Like, it's that compersion of just like joy for a previous love. And when we caught up and I was telling him all about my partner, and he was just like, I remember you voicing these ideas to me when we were together.
Wow.
About wanting to like talk about opening up the relationship and all this stuff. And I didn't realize I'd done that.
Wow.
And so it was, yeah, like he was like, you were always obsessed with movies where there were like multiple partners and stuff. And I'm like, that's true. And yeah, so I guess it's just always been there. Like, yeah.
And
I remember
was your current partner polyamorous before he met you?
Yeah, so he has been poly, like he had monogamous relationships previous, like years ago.
Yeah.
So when we met at that party, it was both of our first parties that we'd ever been to in that space. Yeah, so we were both babies in the scene at the time when we met. And it's quite fitting that he's also poly. Like, there's no way in hell I could ever imagine him being monogamous at all. Like, yeah, it's quite ironic to ever think that he tried, but you never know. But it's just very, like, we're very much cut from the same cloth in how we approach the whole polyamorous thing. Like, communication is our kink. Like, we
Yeah.
are always talking and checking in and making
Love
sure
that.
that we both feel loved and reassured. And we have moments where, like, oh, I'm like, you know, I think people think polyamory only works if you don't have jealousy, but that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
100%.
you're a human being, and jealousy comes from a fear of being left behind or forgotten.
Yeah.
And like, it's the best thing in the world that if I feel it, I can tell him in the moment I'm feeling it. It's like, oh, I felt like a little bit. And I can acknowledge, like, I know holistically how much you love me.
Yeah.
That, like, this is why I felt it. And he'll just instantly come in and be like, X, Y, Z. And it's so lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy enough to say that I have that in my relationship too. Like, you can be in the most loving, supportive, like, secure relationship, but like you said, you're a fucking human being, and jealousy is normal. And I think a lot of people are scared to admit they feel jealous, as if it's like you're not allowed to. Like, I haven't done anything wrong to make you feel jealous. It's like, I like feeling vulnerable with my partner and going, oh, I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little jealous. And my partner will go, what do you need from me? Like, how can I make you feel more secure in this moment? And I'm like, oh, okay,
Isn't that beautiful?
like, here's what I need. Yeah, I know. Oh, I just love him. So powerful communication and trust. Respect. I'm assuming polyamory and having respect with each other goes a long way as well.
Massive. Like, it's amazing how powerful it is. Instead of assuming when someone comes to you and goes, hey, this has left me feeling hurt, sad, jealous, left out, or happy, rather than going, well, that's not my fault. The best thing for a partner to do is like, well, how can I help fix this? Or how can I help make you feel more reassured? And it's just, it is you and them versus the problem versus you versus each other. Like, it's just, it's so simple. But once I started really applying that in my friendships, in my relationships, it has cracked a code like nothing else.
Yeah.
Like,
what's this?
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're just kids.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I know. We need a fucking rule.
We just want to hug.
What do you feel like this relationship and I guess polyamory in general has done for your confidence and self-worth and the ability to like have a bit of freedom and choice in your life? How's that kind of liberated you?
I think it has really shown to me that just how whole I am and how capable I am and what I bring to the table. Like, I found quite often in previous flings, relationships, I would be left feeling like I was not enough. And this is like, by having this really independent way of living as well as these really intricate connections, you realize that you are enough. And that also comes with time and self-growth and love. But it's just this really beautiful feeling of knowing that I am more and I am enough because of who I am. And these people get to add to it. They're not detracting from it. And it has really shown to me how to set boundaries. Like, skimping has actually been the thing that has taught me how to set boundaries like nothing else.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, that community, that workforce has shown me, like, it's, I think before when my self-esteem was quite low, if someone was like, oh, you're so pretty, I'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much. Whereas now I'm like, tip me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Let's go. I love that.
I'm just like, you've got to be pretty, like, you've got to be pretty special. Like, you've got to be something else. Like, I can't, like, a compliment, it means nothing to me anymore. Like, I need you to engage my mind. Like,
oh, I love that.
Physical attraction. Yeah, exactly. Like, physical attraction is such a small part of any connection. Like, it's big, but it's not essential. Like, I need to feel like you engage and connect with what's going on inside of me, not just like for what I am as on the outside. I already have enough people paying me and also just visualizing, objectifying me, that if you're going to come into it like, oh, you're super hot, let's go play, I'm just like, no, I need more. Like, I need a mental engagement.
Yeah, I call myself hot daily. I don't need validation. I need money. I need money. I love that.
It's funny. I talk to other girls in the space, and it's the same for them too. Like, the way it shows how we were previously allowing mostly men to do the bare minimum and calling it amazing. Like, no. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
do not
constantly my partner is saying like, I know. Like, constantly my partner's like, oh my God, the bar is on the floor, babe. And I'm just like, he's horrified. Like, he'll sit there in my friendship groups with my other girlfriends and be like, girls, what is going on? Like, this is literally bare minimum treatment. And yeah, I'm very proud. I have this incredible person who just treats me like gold.
I love
that.
It's
wonderful.
Yeah, you sound very proud. It's definitely something to be proud of. And you know what? Like you said, bring it back. You attract the type of person you are at the time. So you have fucking done that. You've attracted this man. So you should be very proud of yourself as well. And as a full circle moment, I know we started this chat with you saying the first time you met me, when I walked in the room, you were like, oh, I want to be like that. And I promise you that there's people listening to this episode hearing you, Steph, and your story going, fuck, like, I want to be like that. I can feel her energy through it. Like, so what would you say to those girls that may be in the position that you were in, like with themselves and feeling in that place? What would you say to them?
Oh, honestly, I always think back to this, like what I would do if I could go back to who I was then. One, I'd just give them a big hug. But two, it's just, I think the second you look around and realize the people you surround yourself with are actually leaving you feeling less than or drained, it's time to actually evaluate whether you want to be around those people. And if you're putting that on yourself as well, like as if you're the one that's draining yourself, like I am a big advocate of therapy. My therapist is a godsend. And it's really hard to break a sort of societal way of how we think about ourselves, especially as women. We're taught to sort of always downplay ourselves, to apologize for literally being in the way, when most of the time they're in the way. And like, it's just this thing where, like, I think we really do live our lives in so much fear of what it will look like for everyone else. But at the end of the day, no one thinks about you as much as you think about yourself. And to be honest, your friends probably want you to leave that relationship or that job that you whinge about constantly, because once you don't have those negative things in your life, you suddenly have so much more room for these incredible moments of growth and positivity. And you get to be a person you never knew you could be. But I always had an inkling that this existed in me, but I just was too scared to actually try. And I just don't want people to have a death or a loss of something so big in their life for them to actually start living. Like, that's my biggest regret, is that I didn't start living until I lost my mum. I wish she could have seen me do this. I wish she could have seen me become this. I wish she could have met my partner. Like, they would have gotten along like a house on fire. And if anyone can take anything from this, it's like, if you have any doubts coming in about how you feel about your life, then that is enough for you to actually reflect on whether or not it's the way you want to be living. Like, life is too short. And beyond life being too short, it also doesn't have to be this hard. Like, obviously there are people that have genuine hardships that they can't avoid, that are like mental health, physical, and like family and stuff. But like, a lot of the time we are making it harder for ourselves, like by trying to keep up appearances or pretenses. And it's just the best thing. It's liberating when you start letting go of all those horrible things that pull you down, because once you cut those, you can actually start to rise. And
mic drop, bitch. Oh my god. Should write a book, honestly.
Want to.
Fucking hell, that was so good. So empowering, babe. I'm just like rethinking of everything that we've said in this podcast, and I know it's going to help so many people. I would love for you to mention where people can come find you, like link your Instagram, talk about your art page, whatever you want to link, go for it. And I'll obviously put it in the show notes, but lead the way.
Thank you. So I'm on Instagram on 2 pages. I've got Herde.art on Instagram, and also Steph 2.0, but you'll never find it because it's one of those ones that gets flagged all the time. So you'll find it linked in my art one. But on TikTok, I'm the Skimpy Artist, so at the Skimpy Artist, and
We'll absolutely, fucking oath. I'll absolutely link everything for you, babe, because I'm just so excited. And if any of you guys are listening and you start following Steph, please send her a DM and let her know what you took away from this podcast. I'm sure we can all connect and kind of exactly what Steph said. Like, let's celebrate each other. Let's lift each other up. So make sure you slide in her DMs and give her a little shout out. Like, yes, bitch, do your work. Thank you so much for jumping on, Steph. I really appreciate you coming on and telling your story.
Thank you, gorgeous. I appreciate you having me.